to be home again.
Well, I didn't expect him to turn up this quickly. I thought he'd saunter in a bit later on, but Saint 14, he's at the tower, and he's got 3 new quests for us, and also a nice little Easter egg for Titans, which I'll show you at the end. So let's not muck about, let's go and see what quests he's got. Now, unless you're really into tributes, this is the least interesting of the 3, Tribute to the Colonies. It's a quest line which ultimately finishes up with you having a tribute that you can place at Saint 14's feet, which, well, you know, if you like tributes, that's great. But the other 2 quests are a mite more interesting. Now, the first one, A Guardian's Duty, is a quest line where you have to complete bounties in either Strikes, Crucible, or Gambit. And this quest line culminates with Saint 14 becoming a tower vendor. So we'll have a look on how to do that one. And finally, we have the one called Cornerstone, which actually sticks a massive obelisk in the middle of the tower. Very, very handy. And for this quest step, we have to kill powerful Fallen, Vex, and Cabal throughout the system. So you can do that in Strikes as well, so you can kind of tie these 3 quests all together. So go and see Zavala, get as many bounties as you can. You need 8 to complete the quest step, so to fulfill the stack, you can just use the random bounty generator on the end there to get your 8. The first one we'll look at completing is Cornerstone, you know, the one that gets us the obelisk. So when I jumped into the Strike playlist, I basically got things very quickly. I did the inverted spire here, and I got plenty of Vex components doing this one. You get 1 from like a smaller enemy, but you can see by killing the end boss here, which we're doing rather quickly. Look, he's dead already. That gave us 5 components. So you just want to be in Strikes where you've got Vax. Obviously I meant Vex, Cabal, and Fallen. And you should have it done in about 3 strikes, I'd say, yes. However, I did use Lost Sectors to mop up the odd 1 or 2 Fallen that I needed, so you don't have to jump into an extra strike. Quest step's all done, and it's back to the tower to see old Saint Mohawk. And then if you return to the main tower area, there you go, there's the new obelisk. And there we have new quest steps. If you open the obelisk itself, it tells you, welcome home, you've repaired the obelisk, blah de blah. And then along the top, you can see, you can synchronize each obelisk up with this one in the tower. And in order to do that, you actually have to do a time-lost weapon frame from each location in order to get it to activate. Now, the weapon frames have various objectives in order to get them fulfilled, but what we've got here is something called Time Lost Friends, which is a nice boost to increase the progression for the weapon frames itself. And the other buff is called Fractaline Skimmer, and that gives you an extra chance for Fractaline to drop during playlist activities. So, worth keeping a couple of those on you too. 4 time lost weapon frame bounties, 4 separate locations. It's going to take you a little bit of time, although I think I did it in about 45-50 minutes or so. That's not too bad. Now, once you've done it, it's back to the tower to see what happens when we connect them up. So you can see I've been activating each node because I did all 4 in a row and came back to do all 4 as well. Oh, and a little thing, these symbols are also in the Corridors of Time missions which show you the way to go, so that's quite interesting. Anyway, once we open it up and see what it actually does. Now then, we've got here the first page. It doesn't look very different and you think, oh no, but then if you look up at the top, you've got page 2 and page 3. So you can collect your weapon frame bounties and the actual bounties directly from the Tower Obelisk here, which saves a lot of travelling back and forth. So that means the only time you actually go to the planetary obelisks is when you want to upgrade them and buy the buffs. Now, I've done a guide to the Mars and the Tangle Shore obelisks, so there's a link at the top of the screen here if you want to go and have a look at that one. And I've also got a guide to the other 2, where are they? The EDZ and the ones on Nessus, and there's a link to that one here too. Okay, let's move on to the completion of the second quest, which was called A Guardian's Duty, and you needed to get 8 bounties by doing Strikes, Gambit or Crucible matches. I plumped for the Strikes, and they didn't take very long to do at all. So once we cleared that up, you have to return to Saint, back in the tower, and then he will give you a book. And you have to put this book on the pedestal. It's only 1 foot to his left. Christ knows why he can't turn around and just stick it there himself. But there we go, perhaps he's a lazy ass. Anyway, once you put the book there, that means that his bounties become available for you to use. Now, these bounties will give you a minor fractaline harvest, or a moderate fractaline harvest as a reward, which is 50 fractaline. So it's definitely worth getting because they're daily bounties and you can get 200 100 fractaline per day by doing them. So yes, that's all very, very handy. And another thing worth pointing out, once looking at the bounties, it says you can use these to charge up the obelisk in the tower too. So at some point down the line, you're going to be able to level up the Tower Obelisk as well, but we can't do that at the moment. And the final quest we've got is, of course, a tribute to the Colonies. Now, if you just go through the 3 quest steps, they're very easy to do. It's just 100 kills on Titan, and then you go and see Failsafe, and you have to do 1 heroic public event, you have to do 1 patrol, and kill 100 people on Nessus, and then they'll tell you to bugger off to the EDZ and do exactly the same thing there. So once you've done that, you return to old Mohican Head in the tower, and then he will give you a tribute, which you stick on a plinth just behind him. Why he can't do it, he's obviously glued to the floor, he's too busy feeding his pigeons. So placing that tribute then completes the triumph in the Season 9 Triumph book. Now make sure you go look in that Triumph book, because you'll find that if you've been doing these quest steps, you're going to have a lot of triumphs to collect, and they're 100 fractaline each, so don't forget to do that. I did mention earlier in the video there's one really neat thing that happens if you go up and see Saint as a Titan and you're wearing the Saint helm, you know, the exotic helmet. He says this.
You look like me. Let us confuse the Vala like this.
Nice little touch there, I feel. And that's it. Saints in the tower, we've got an obelisk, and we've also got the dawning to do as well, so shed loads to do so far, Guardians. I hope you enjoyed the video and you found it very helpful, and if not, well, I'm just going to go and bury my head in the sand and cry until sand goes up my nose and I parp stones.
Time sausages. Gaming channel.